Ever heard of George Washington? Let's learn a little bit about him. George Washington was born on a farm in Virginia along the Potomac River. His father died when he was 11, and he quickly learned how to be responsible. George joined the Virginia militia at the age of 20, and just a few years later, he became its commander. Washington then married Martha Custis, who already had 2 children. George and Martha never had children together, but he became a father to her children and grandchildren. Then the American colonies went to war with Great Britain, and George was asked to lead the army. He spent 8 long years with the army, and they eventually defeated the British. Leaders of the colonies met in Philadelphia, and Washington was chosen to lead as they discussed how to form a new country. 2 years later, the first presidential election was held, and of course, George Washington was elected president. Washington served honestly and faithfully as a president for 8 years. Then he returned to his home at Mount Vernon, Virginia. He died a few years later. George Washington will always be remembered as a great general and a great president. Now let's go back to the beginning. George was born in 1732, right here in Eastern Virginia. We don't know the exact spot where he was born, but it was probably in this area. And so in 1930, this land was declared as George Washington's Birthplace National Monument. Let's go visit the monument. The first thing you'll see is this replica of the Washington Monument. It's exactly 1/10 of the height of the real one in Washington, D.C. At the Visitor Center, you can see a movie about George Washington's early years. George Washington was a surveyor as a young man. Surveyors measured the land. George surveyed land all over these parts of Virginia. This building was built for George Washington's 200th birthday. It's similar to the type of house that George would have been born in. Inside the house, you can see the kinds of furniture that might have been in Washington's birth home. The man in the back is the first superintendent of this site. Outside the house, a whole farm has been reconstructed the way it would have looked at the time.
This room is a kitchen.
Archaeologists discovered this is where the dairy was and where they stored milk. In George Washington's time, this is where they would fix their tools. Behind his house, a nature trail passes over the marsh. This is called the Dancing Marsh. I think it's called the Dancing Marsh because the wind blows on it. The location of George Washington's birthplace is a mystery. Many people thought his birthplace was right here. That's why people built a house on top of it. Right now, it's believed that this is the most likely spot where he was born. But it could be anywhere else here. Archaeological digs are still happening. We may know for sure someday. Until then, we can appreciate the beauty of the land and remember that even the father of our country was once a baby who had to learn to walk and talk just like the rest of us. But wait, there's more! A secret road takes you to the burial site of Washington's family. And there's also a beach. It was a little chilly, but that didn't stop us from having some fun. Hey, seriously, there's bear prints. See you on the next part!